Hello there, Stevos, and welcome back to another episode of Steve's Movie Wrap-Up right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. So there is 3 movies that I watched this week. What did I think of them, and what star rating did I give to them? Well, let's find out right now in this episode of the Movie Wrap-Up. You're watching Steve's Movie Wrap-Up, episode 63, right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. The first movie I'll be reviewing in this episode is Grafted. So the first movie I watched this week was Grafted, which I gave 2.5 stars over on Letterboxd. Grafted is a movie that was released on the horror streaming service Shudder, and now that there's quite a few movies that I do want to check out on the horror streaming service Shudder, I decided to do a 7-day free trial of the streaming service, so expect me to talk more and review more movies from the horror streaming service Shudder in my next few movie reviews. But as for Grafted though, what did I think of Grafted? There's a part of me that did enjoy Grafted and another part of me that didn't so much enjoy Grafted. My thoughts are rather mixed. When I first saw the trailer for Grafted at the back end of 2024, it did kind of leave me intrigued to see what the movie was like. I kind of felt like it was going to be another great body horror movie alongside The Substance. But sadly for me though, this is where the movie itself did fall flat, unfortunately. Grafted felt like a lot more of a low-budget horror version of The Substance. I didn't find anything in here that was scary or realistic at all. There was times where the script or dialogue itself had some issues, I think. There are some moments now, looking back on this film, where I'm there questioning, did this happen in the movie, or did this not actually happen in the movie? Because I do feel as though there are some scenes within Grafted which are rather forgettable, which is a shame. I do think the concept behind the movie was good, and yes, the film is rather watchable, in my opinion. There are some elements of gore used within this horror movie, which I thought was also rather decent as well. Is Grafted a movie that I will happily revisit and rewatch again? My answer to that question is rather a mixed bag, because although I wouldn't mind checking this film out again, but then there's another part of me that's saying I wouldn't rush to watch this film anytime soon in the near future. Would I recommend this movie to other horror movie fans out there? I would say definitely do check this one out and have your own thoughts and opinions on this. But for me, though, I didn't see anything within this movie that will make me go, I'll remember that scene for a long time. I will also say, before I do wrap up this review for Grafted, that the acting performances in this were decent, and the main actress that played one of the main lead roles, called Wei, I thought she was rather good in this movie as well. Grafted is now streaming over on the horror streaming service Shudder. The Rule of Jenny Penn. The Rule of Jenny Penn, I gave 2.5 stars over on Letterboxd. The Rule of Jenny Penn is exactly the reason why I decided to get the streaming service Shudder. That, and the fact there's a few movies on the app itself that I really want to get around to watching. But The Rule of Jenny Penn has not long been released on the horror streaming service app Shudder. So what did I think of this movie? Well, I've got absolutely no idea what on earth I have watched and am currently reviewing right now, but I think it's very safe to say that I enjoyed watching this movie, and I like this one a lot. The Rule of Jenny Penn does star John Lithgow. For those who don't know who that is, he voiced Lord Farquaad in the first Shrek film. And the movie does also star Geoffrey Rush as well. It's funny because I have seen one Letterboxd review who reviewed this movie and said this was like if the Joker and Batman were in an old people's home. And you know what? After finishing what I've just watched, I think it's safe to say that I do agree with that review. What I love about this movie is the fact that this movie, it does get a little bit weird at times. It also does have some comedic elements, so it is a rather funny movie in places at times. There are certain scenes at times which you may even find rather terrifying as well. There was a few set designs in here actually that I really did enjoy. There was a bathroom scene which was really darkly lit. Like, the only bit of lighting I believe was coming from the doorway in this one specific scene. But honestly though, the scene in question is quite a dark scene. I think it does also give off the horrors of being an in an elderly people's home as well, living in one. I tell you now, after seeing this movie, I'm not looking forward to being put into an old people's home in about 40 years from now. The Rule of Jenny Penn does also really well in tone with the music scored for this movie as well. It does give off those terrifying vibes that horror fans are looking for in a movie. It does make scenes a lot darker when they need to be when it comes to the dark scenes. I do believe that Stephen King had watched this and highly recommended this movie. I also believe this is the same Stephen King that last year in 2024 also highly recommended watching the Spanish movie called The Coffee Table, which is also streaming on the horror streaming service Shudder. And yes, I will be watching and reviewing that movie soon, by the way. I will also say, not only did Stephen King recommend horror fans to give this one a watch, but I think at the start of 2025 was when I first saw a trailer for this movie, and safe to say that I was already looking forward to seeing The Rule of Jenny Penn after seeing the trailer the first time I watched it at the start of 2025. Is The Rule of Jenny Penn a movie that I can see myself going back and revisiting and rewatching? I'm only going to have the streaming service Shudder for a short amount of time, so I won't be revisiting this on the streaming service Shudder. However, though, just like Grafted is at the moment, later down the line, I am sure that this movie will be available to buy on digital platforms, and if so, then I will definitely buy and keep this movie on digital later down the line and revisit and rewatch this movie again. Is The Rule of Jenny Penn a movie that I would recommend to other horror fans out there wanting a new horror movie to watch? I definitely think I would recommend this for people to watch. It is dark in some places. It does have some, not a lot, but have some comedic elements within the film, and it also kind of leaves you on the edge of your seat at times. The movie, for me, kept me engaged and intrigued to know what happens next or what comes next throughout the running time. And speaking of running time, by the way, The Rule of Jenny Penn does have a running time which clocks in at 1 hour and 44 minutes, and for me, the running time wasn't an issue at all. The Rule of Jenny Penn is now streaming on horror streaming service Shudder. Novocaine. And the final movie I have watched this week is Novocaine, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. Novocaine is a movie which I absolutely enjoyed from start to finish. It has got such comedic elements in this movie which fans of comedy will absolutely love and adore about this movie. If you are a fan of action, then don't worry, because this movie is packed full of punches. No pun intended there, or was it meant to be intended? But seriously though, the action sequences aren't too bad. There is one issue or problem that I did have, which happened towards the final act of the film, where the camera starts to get more shaky during a fight scene, which was kind of annoying and kind of a bummer as well, but I'm not going to complain about that too much. It's rather funny, you see, because so far in the cinematic universe, this Jack Quaid, I have seen Jack Quaid's character play a douchebag boyfriend to his on-screen partner, both in Scream 5 that came out a couple of years ago, and in the movie Companion that was released just a couple of months ago. Whereas in Novocaine, does he play the role of a douchebag boyfriend? He actually doesn't for once. He is an actual genuine nice guy that wants to do something nice, which means going after and saving the woman and acting the hero. In all honesty, if he was a superhero, I think his superhero name would probably be Novocaine. It does somewhat work. Yes, Jack Quaid's character in this is called Nathan Kane, or Nate as he prefers to be called, and he also does suffer with a condition which means he doesn't feel pain, he doesn't feel hot or cold either. And what's funny is I can sometimes relate to this. I have boiled, by accident by the way, not on purpose, but I have boiled water from a kettle and it has landed straight on my hand and scalded me. But did I feel anything? No, I didn't. Did I feel any pain? Surprisingly, no, I didn't. But again, for the record, I didn't do that on purpose. It was purely an accidental thing to happen to me. But also sometimes when I take the tea bag out of the hot water when making a cup of tea, I tend to take 2 fingers to squeeze the rest of the tea out of the tea bag. And again, not once does it hurt my fingers when I do that. So when I watched Novocaine and found out that Quaid's character doesn't feel pain, I can relate to that in some ways. Although if someone was to punch me in the stomach or face, there's a very likely chance that I will feel that and it will hurt very badly. The humour in this was great, as I've already mentioned in this review. I think Quaid's character was on top form when it came to the witty jokes throughout the running time. And as for the running time, Novocaine does have a running time that clocks in at 1 hour and 50 minutes. And honestly, there wasn't a single moment throughout the film where I felt the need to check to see how long the film had left. The movie did keep me intrigued and interested all throughout the running time. Not only does Jack Quaid star in this movie, but so does Amber Midthunder, who some people may know played the lead role in the movie Prey that came out a few years ago. I thought she was decent in that film, and when it came to Novocaine, I thought she was great in this movie as well. Not only that, but the film does also star Jacob Batalon, who a lot of people will recognise plays Peter Parker / Spider-Man's best friend Ned in the Spider-Man movies that stars Tom Holland. Well, he also stars in this movie playing the role of Nathan's best friend and online gamer Roscoe. The funny thing is, the first time that Nathan and Roscoe meet in person is when Nathan is saving his new girlfriend from being killed by 3 bank robbers who robbed the bank where he and his new partner works at. The movie does also have some twists and turns in it to keep you guessing and wanting to know which direction this movie is about to take you to next. You could also technically class this as a Christmas movie as well, because there is minor hints throughout this movie that this film is set at Christmas. However, though, there's no snowfall in sight, and also I just find it so random that the only parts where we see Christmas is, well, firstly, it's said directly in script that the movie is set around Christmas. Secondly, there's a Christmas tree set up inside the bank. Thirdly, there's a specific scene where we hear some Christmas song being sang in the background. And fourthly, the bank robbers, when they turn up to rob the bank, they are dressed as Santa. But aside from that, though, that's the only thing you'll get in terms of this movie being set at Christmas. Would I buy Novocaine to revisit and rewatch again, time and time again, on digital platforms later this year? Yes, definitely. I will definitely buy this movie to keep on digital platforms. And do I recommend people should go and watch this movie when they get the chance to? Again, yes, definitely worth giving a watch. So far, it's becoming one of my favourite movies of the year so far. Novocaine is now showing in cinemas and theatres worldwide. And that is it for this episode of Steve's Movie Wrap Up. Feel free to give the thumbs up button a like, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what movies you've been watching this week, whether it's old, new, in cinemas, streaming, DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, wherever. Let me know what movies you've watched this past week in the comment section down below. As always, if you are new around here, you like what you see, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below to become a Steve-O. I will be back with you with your next YouTube video on Monday, the 7th of April 2025 at 4 PM UK time, where I'll be discussing everything that was announced at CinemaCon 2025 over this past week. Until then, though, it's goodbye and thank you for watching. I'll see you guys again in my next YouTube video.